back in his injury jail cell again, and we don't know if he'll come hobbling out of that thing again. He is an injury waiting to happen every year, and it's happened a little early this year for the Lunches for Wimps team. Kaput. I have them as my worst team in the league as well. The Boone Humper, second worst team in the league. Again, the roster is just too weak. They get creative, they get lucky, they win a game, they win 3. We'll see if that continues.
Yeah, we will see.
The Jimmies, I've got third worst team in the league. I mean, everything.
Oh, don't say it like you feel bad. The Jimmies' that team is over a highfalutin, over cocky. This team is horrible. There's nothing to this team that's
there's a snarkiness
winner.
to the management of the fire spitting Jimmies, but you gotta have the bad guy in the league. I mean, maybe Mason Keith Colby's taken it over this year, but they don't have that edgy, snarky, cut right through you, sinister, step on your throat, puke in your mouth.
Yeah.
Stick it up your can type of attitude.
Keep it up,
Mason Keith Colby, you want to be the bad guy, you're going to have to start. Fourth worst team in the FLF. I got the King. You got the King in that mid-ground where they're not ranked. I can't believe it. The King has gotten off the schneid with you. I'm not quite ready to do it. I do have them as my team to watch. As I talked about before, the King's quietly got a pretty good receiver core. Miles Austin's hurt again. Hurts him. Jamal Charles obviously was lost, but he's replaced it with Michael Bush. He's got some other things going. LeGarrette Blount might get a touchdown or 2 late in the year as they run more. The King's my team to watch. You got them a little bit high. They're taking them out of the bottom 5. I got them at 4. And a surprise for a lot of folks, not for me, the Mofos I've got as the 5th worst team in the FLF. Again, this team is shallow. It's got 2 good receivers, but Stevie Johnson's underachieving and he's been hurt. I think that's probably the reason. Mojo hasn't broken 20 points all year. And quite frankly, I think Michael Vick's a fine fantasy player these days, but he's not what he was.
It seems like defenses have figured him out.
And I think if you're riding on Michael Vick to take you to the promised land, you got another thing coming, Judas Priest. So, Mofo's 5th worst team. We move over to the top rankings. What do you got there at 5, bud?
Well, I have the Peaceful Warriors, I mean, I think they are consistently winning, and I think they have a good opportunity to win this week against the fire-spitting Jimmies. I just, I don't have a lot to say. I mean, these teams that I'm going to be ranking from 5 to 1, they're but a couple of bad waiver wire moves or no waiver wire moves from fading into oblivion. But the Peaceful Warriors, hey, we'll give them to them. Nobody seems to want number 5. We'll give it to the Peaceful Warriors.
I agree. Number 5, Peaceful Warriors. I think the Peaceful Warriors showed a lot last week, playing redonkulous, putting up 160 points. They're getting some achievement out of underachievers this year. They got big names on that roster. They drafted well. It's time for them to really step up. I expect them to move up this power ranking. And I agree with you. None of these teams are great. These teams are all good. This Peaceful Warrior team could jump to number 1.
As could the Goods.
So. As could the Morning Wood if they would get off their ass.
As could the Boone Humper. How about this? The Goods at number 4.
I got them at 4 too.
All right. Dr. Dick at number 3.
I got them at 3 too.
Dr. Dick, hey, this team had a chance, and this team failed. They're stuck with Forte and Aaron Rodgers. Sooner or later, those guys are going to lay an egg, and so is your team.
I'm selling high on Dr. Dick. I think right now people are fearing this team, and I look at this team, and then I look at this team this way, and I don't see it.
I think we've seen both.
Go ahead, bud.
We've seen both Dr. Dick and Mason Keith Colby, the scoring slow down a lot over the last few weeks. Like does seem to be like everybody's clumping together.
Well, we know how an NFL season is too, don't we, bud? I mean, guys that come out of the gates, early ripe, early rotten, whatever you want to call it, is that quick start, and then as the season pushes on, you see a lot of those veteran players that have been there, done that. Those NFL teams that have been there, done that.
Yeah, it's a little
Jets,
thing called
Steelers.
snow. How about that?
Well,
number 2, Mason Keith Colby.
Mason Keith Colby, number 2. For the first time, I think, this year, bud.
Yeah.
We are in complete agreement of our top 5.
Yeah, unbelievable, unbelievable. Number 1, I have the Rollers. I've seen the explosiveness. We talked over the past few weeks about, hey, we hadn't seen explosiveness. Last couple of weeks, we've seen some explosiveness out of the Rollers.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I talked explosion for the Rollers, it meant Javad Best was suited up and playing, and he hasn't been playing.
Yeah.
They've had a bye week. He's been hurt with the concussion. It looks like he may not even come back. Rollers have just kept moving. They kept paddling the canoe. They've got a couple new rowers in there now.
Oh, no doubt.
And they were scoring 145 points, and that's better than they were doing with Best in the 130s, as we used to say.
I believe his mantra is quiet domination, and he's quietly doing that. He's quietly wrapping up the Eastern Conference. Let's take a look at our conferences. You know, the East, the Central, and the West right now. You know,
they all lead by 2 games. They're all 7-2. Closest teams to them are 5-4.
Yes, yeah.
You know, these 3 top teams in our power rankings look like they're going to walk away with these divisions with 2-game leads. I say not so fast, at least in the West, and possibly with the Goods making a push. But the Rollers right now, they look like a team to me, and the reason why I have them at number 1, that is not satisfied. And yeah, they were pushed into a corner with losing Best, with the uncertainty of Best, but he's making moves all the time, working different defenses in. He's plugging and playing where he needs to. That 145 wasn't something that just came from what he had. He created that, and I give the Rollers a lot of credit.
Yeah, no doubt. Now let's take a look at some of these scoring differentials, overall points allowed. At top, we have Dr. Dick at 1. Mason Key Colby at 1276, followed by Dr. Dick at 1274, and the Rollers at 1233. Which one of these teams, with how many 3 games left, which one is going to lead in points and in overall record? Who's going to be our number 1 seed?
Well, that's a very good question. I think the Mason Key Colby depth that he was always talking about early on in the season is not there. I don't see it at all. I see Daniel Thomas and Darius Hayward-Bay as guys that can almost go.
Ouch.
And I think he's kind of stuck with some guys he
Fish
thought were
or cut bait, my friends.
So that Mason Key Colby team, as we see the decline of the Brady Welker continue,
as the weather turns,
I don't think that it's them. I gotta go with the Rollers right now.
I think the Rollers are
Ben Roethlisberger just is starting to emerge again late in the year as a fantasy star.
These are cold weather players, and then LaShawn McCoy. What are you going to say? He's got Calvin Johnson, and now he's got Percy Harvin, who's going to get a relationship with Christian Ponder for the Vikings. This is a team that could be really scary. Now here's another little. Oh, there you go. Here's another little couple stats. All right, the Boone Humper at 1,050, Lunches for Wimps at 1,060, the Fire Spitting Jimmies at 1,073 points, and the Mofos at 1,075. Which one of those teams do you think has a chance to make the playoffs?
Well, I think the Mofos, we've talked about them, they've scored 2 more points than a 3-6 team, so they've had a couple of fortunate wins.
I should point out that the Mofos have a 2-point lead on these teams. That's how much I'm seeing these teams, the Mofos, as being a bad play going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give our current champion some credit. He's done it twice where he's gotten to a championship and he's won one when he's been a mediocre below 500 team. He's gone on that run. Let's see what he has. I mean, of those teams, I've got to think the Jimmies, with Hakeem Nicks coming back to health, if that is the case, they could run with three wins, get in the playoffs at 6 and 7.
Really?
A little damage.
I would have to say that it would be the Boone Humper, and one of the reasons why is because the Boone Humper, with his back against the wall, and I have spoken with the management about this, a certain fire, a certain zest for breaking down these teams and these different matchups and putting in the best possible player to get the best possible result. And as we move into this week's matchups, we're going to see that the Boone Humper has done just that, chosen the best possible players for the best possible week.
Well, they've sure got off to a good start. Like we touched on, jumping into the show straight out of Thursday Night Football, the Boone Humper came rip-roaring, guns a-blazing, Denarius